Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today because we are going on a really fascinating time travel adventure. We're going to trace the evolutionary journey of the internet, starting from its quietest, simplest beginnings all the way to the hyper-connected, incredibly intelligent web we use today. But we aren't just going to look at the shiny new features that popped up over the years. We're also tracking a shadow that has grown right alongside our technology, the escalating, constantly evolving landscape of security threats. Because, the more connected we get, the more creative the attackers get. So, buckle up.
Okay, before we jump back into the past, I want you to do something really quick. Take a look at your phone or maybe the laptop you're using for your classes right now. Think about all the apps, the smart features, that constant, never-ending stream of data. Do you actually know what version of the internet you're holding in your hands? Is it Web 2.0, Web 3.0, something else entirely? It's actually a much trickier question than it seems. But by the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly where we stand and, more importantly, exactly what kind of risks are hiding right there inside your device. So here is our roadmap. We are going to trace 4 distinct eras chronologically. Web 1.0 in the 90s, Web 2.0 in the 2000s, Web 3.0 in the 2010s, and Web 4.0 in the 2020s. Just keep in mind as we go through this how every single technological leap completely changes the game for security.
Let's rewind the clock to the 1990s. Welcome to Web 1.0, which is widely known as the read-only web. I want you to imagine the internet as basically a massive digital brochure. In this era, web pages were entirely static. You had a very small handful of publishers, think universities, early corporations, big web directories, and they were creating content for a massive audience of passive consumers. You couldn't leave a comment, you couldn't hit a like button, and there was absolutely no way you were uploading a video. You just logged on, read the text on the screen, and logged off. It was super simple. It was definitely groundbreaking for its time, but structurally, very, very basic.
And because the features of Web 1.0 were so basic, the security issues were too. On one side, you had these static university pages and directories. On the flip side, the absolute biggest headache was just weak server administration. Attackers back then didn't really target individual users. I mean, you didn't even have a profile to steal. Instead, they would break into a server and replace a college homepage with some prank message or a political statement. It was essentially just digital graffiti.
What is really fascinating to look back on is just how impersonal the threats were in Web 1.0. Website defacement was obviously a massive headache for the IT admins who were just trying to keep their web service online. But for the average college student who was just browsing for a research paper, the internet was actually relatively safe. Your personal identity wasn't really at risk because, well, your digital footprint barely even existed yet.
But, as we all know, technology never stands still. By the early 2000s, this monumental shift started to happen, and we really have to ask, what happens when the audience suddenly becomes the creator? What happens when literally everyone gets a megaphone?
Well, the answer is Web 2.0, the read-write web. That quiet digital brochure completely vanished, and it was replaced by a massive, chaotic, and incredibly noisy town square. Users weren't just reading anymore. We were publishing. We were creating blogs, uploading videos, and constantly chatting on social networks. The web completely shifted from a collection of static pages into these dynamic platforms where the users themselves generated all the content. This is the internet you most likely grew up with, totally dominated by massive tech platforms hosting billions of interactions every single second.
The leap in capabilities was just astonishing. All of a sudden, we had social networks, we had blogs, the absolute explosion of smartphones, video sharing. It brought amazing global connectivity. But the security landscape fundamentally shifted along with it. Because we started willingly putting our real names, our photos, our friendships, and our credit cards online, we became the targets. We saw this massive rise in privacy laws, incredibly sophisticated phishing campaigns, and platform abuse. Basically, the human being became the primary vulnerability.
So the threats got intensely personal. Attackers pretty much stopped trying to hack the server and started trying to hack you. They used social engineering, which is basically just manipulating human psychology. They realized, hey, it is way easier to trick a student into handing over their password with a fake verify your account email, a phishing attack, than it is to brute force a firewall. Identity theft became this booming criminal industry, and your private data became an actual currency. This was a total game changer for cybersecurity, and it's what forced all of us to start learning about things like strong passwords and multi-factor authentication.
Okay, so Web 2.0 centralized our digital lives into the hands of a few really massive tech platforms. But as the 2010s rolled around, a brand new question started bubbling up in the tech community.
What happens if we stop relying on those big platforms? What if the web could be decentralized and users could actually own their own data rather than just renting out space on somebody else's social network?
And that brings us to Web 3.0, the semantic, decentralized, and AI-assisted web. It is wild to see how this era is largely defined by trying to take power back from central authorities. It's built on concepts like data ownership and blockchain technology. It's also semantic, which basically means the web is structured so that machines and early AI assistants actually understand the context of what you're doing, not just scanning for keywords. So instead of logging into a massive corporate platform, you might interact directly with decentralized apps using your own secure digital wallet.
Now, the features here are highly technical. We're talking smart contracts that execute automatically on a blockchain, decentralized apps, and the rapid rise of AI tools. But here's the catch. By removing the middleman, those big platforms that used to handle all the security for us, we introduced entirely new vulnerabilities. The threat shifted to wallet theft, tiny bugs hidden deep inside smart contract code, and the frankly terrifying rise of AI deception. When you act as your own bank, literally a single mistake can drain your assets instantly, and there is absolutely no customer service to call for a refund.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. In Web 3.0, as the technology became radically smarter, the attackers did exactly the same thing. They started targeting crypto wallets directly. They scoured smart contract code looking for tiny logical flaws to exploit. And with the introduction of AI, they gained the ability to generate highly convincing deceptions, like deepfake audio and video, to just bypass human verification entirely. The attacks became technically complex and incredibly deceptive.
Which leads us right to the present day and the cutting edge of tomorrow. We've gone from reading screens to typing on screens to using decentralized logic behind those screens. But what happens when the web jumps completely off our screens and physically embeds itself into the real world all around us? Welcome to Web 4.0, the intelligent and context-aware web. This isn't just an internet you browse anymore. It's an internet that actually anticipates your needs. It is driven by the massive integration of artificial intelligence, sensors everywhere, and the Internet of Things, or IoT. Think about the smartwatches monitoring your health right now, smart campuses optimizing their own energy use, and self-driving cars. In Web 4.0, the internet is quite literally all around you, constantly processing context to provide these highly personalized autonomous services. We've obviously gained some incredible conveniences, smart campuses, smart homes, autonomous services, but the security side? That is where things get genuinely alarming. Think about it. If a hacker breached a Web 1.0 site, you saw a funny image. If they breach your Web 4.0 smart home, they could literally unlock your front door, turn off your security cameras, or even tamper with the hospital's medical sensors. We are talking about severe mass surveillance risks, device compromise, and most alarmingly, real-world physical safety impacts.
And this is a grave reality. A lot of these Internet of Things devices are small, they're manufactured cheaply, and they often come with incredibly weak default passwords. When they get compromised, they can be hijacked and turned into massive botnets, which are basically armies of infected devices used to launch huge coordinated attacks. Cyber threats have officially evolved from being just screen-based annoyances or financial losses into potential physical safety hazards. An attack on a smart power grid or an autonomous vehicle system isn't just a data breach anymore. It's a direct threat to human life.
Okay, a really quick reality check here. It is super important to remember that terms like Web 3.0 and Web 4.0, they aren't clearly standardized the way HTML or HTTP code is. You're not going to wake up one day and see a switch flipped from 3.0 to 4.0. These are simply conceptual frameworks. They're mental models that help us map out the trajectory of all these technological capabilities and, of course, their associated risks.
So let's quickly summarize this incredible narrative arc. We started in Web 1.0, where the attack surface was basically limited to servers and basic defacement. Then came Web 2.0, where we gave the internet our data, and identity theft and phishing completely skyrocketed. Web 3.0 brought decentralized finance and smart AI, bringing highly technical wallet thefts and deep-fake deception. And now, in Web 4.0, the internet physically surrounds us, elevating cyber risks to matters of literal physical safety and mass surveillance. The expanding attack surface perfectly mirrors the incredible, unstoppable technological growth of the web itself.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. We are moving deeper and deeper into an era where the web doesn't just know what you click on. It knows when you sleep, where you drive, and how your heart beats. As Web 4.0 learns your daily routine, how secure is your personal digital footprint? Understanding this evolution isn't just for computer science majors anymore. It is an absolute survival skill for the modern world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious, stay secure, and I'll catch you in the next one.